What's up, guys, and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast. I've been away for a little bit, like a month now, I think it is. Had a little bit of a hiatus, simply because life is crazy and work has been crazy, and then I got laryngitis, so that put a little bit of a delay on things. And then it was kind of like that thing that, you know, like life gets, is like it snowballs, and I hadn't got a guest lined up, and I didn't have any idea what the fuck to talk about, and I was like, oh god, but I want to carry this on because I love doing it and it's a laugh. But anyway, yeah, I'm back. Hopefully I won't do that again. Hopefully I won't get laryngitis again. I mean, that's not the fucking third time I've had it, not this year, but ever. It's horrible. Couldn't talk, couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, and then, well, just listen to this. I like talking, and I couldn't talk. Well, I could, but it hurt a lot, and it was really annoying. But I'm all good now. I got antibiotics and shit. Yeah. Life's been pretty crazy, so, you know, I just didn't have time for you guys. I kid, I've always got time for the four of you that listen to this. I've been doing some cool shit, though. I'm almost 30 years old, and I didn't know how to ride a bike. So I went off and learned how to ride a bike. My good friend Ash Clark, who was on the podcast, did the episode about music with me. Yeah, he's been teaching me how to ride a bike. It's nothing quite like being a fucking 29-year-old male and being like, I was gonna say man, but I'm such a fucking kid. Like, I can't even ride a bike, so I don't even deserve to say man. Well, I say I can't ride a bike. I can now, so how about that? But yeah, there's nothing, you know, quite as strange as being a 29-year-old man and your friend holding you up on a bike so you don't fall over and split your head open. That was an experience. Here's a little video of that.
Aaron can't ride a bike. Like a proud father. Go on, son.
See, I can ride a bike. There we go. I apologise for anyone who's listening to the audio version of this because you won't be able to hear. You'd have just heard stuff. But yeah, I've learned how to ride a bike. I need to buy a bike. That would be good. So I can actually go out and just ride instead of having to be terrified riding Ash's bike in case I like fall off it or like get hit by a car on it. Oh god, like cars, yeah, no, I'm still nervous as fuck around those. But yeah, it's weird. It's very strange. I actually got it quite quick. I think I was like an hour into my first lesson. And, like, you know, I was off. When I was like, well, I said I was off. I could go in a straight line. Turning was more difficult. I did have a little stumble on lesson 2, where I was getting used to going like a figure of 8, and I overturned a little bit too much, and I stacked it, and I'm sure that was hilarious for the man who was on his balcony cooking a barbecue. I'm sure he had a fucking great time seeing that. My ego was definitely hurt more than me physically. So yeah, I was doing that. I went and got a new tattoo. That's not really that exciting, but still, it's something. Slowly gonna fill this arm up with stuff and shit. I'm booked in for another one already. But I'm tangenting because I'm just like, let's just fill this up. Anyway, that's not what this episode's about. This episode is about the next generation of video games consoles. Dun, 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 dun. That might turn a lot of you off. Because this has kind of been a podcast that isn't that nerdy. And I was like, I don't want to do nerdy things on this. But I was like, well, I've got nothing to talk about. And my dear friend Ed Willey was free, who some of you might remember from when I did Guys Playing Games. He was one of my co-hosts with that, with my friend Perry as well. We did that for a bit. So yeah, it's kind of like a little reunion for us to talk about video games on a podcast. So, and that's right around the corner. And there's loads of rumours and speculation and stuff like that. And I wanted to get in on that and, you know, just expel my thoughts on the whole thing of PlayStation versus Xbox and all that, you know, get a bit fucking nerdy. So yeah, I thought we'd talk about that. Some of you might not like that, some of you might, who knows. But it's not always going to be nerdy now, that's not what I'm trying to do. But that's just what this episode's about, because I thought it'd be interesting. I actually had at least one person ask me to do a podcast about that, so for that one person, here it fucking is. It's my opinion on it. I'll be back next week. I'm going to just front this up now, because I am going to be back, because I didn't actually say it in the episode. So we'll say it now. I'm going to be back next week with another episode. I have no idea what it's going to be about. I might be on my own. I might not. But yeah, let's get into it. Next gen fucking video games consoles. and stuff. Me and Ed talking geek. Ed, what is up? Thank you very much for joining me, sir.
Hello.
How's it going?
How's it going? No,
Ask the same question. Love it.
Yeah, I'm good. You know, lockdown stuff, hanging out at home, playing lots of games.
Yeah, exactly. And this is like the perfect thing for it. I mean, this is anyone who used to watch mine and Ed's old podcast is kind of like a reunion of sorts in podcast world of guys playing games. I thought we'd get together today because I haven't done a podcast in about a month. And I messaged Ed and I was like, do you want to come on and talk about next gen? Because, like, you know, I haven't actually done a nerdy podcast on this podcast. So I was like, I need to get one in somewhere. And I feel like over the last couple of weeks, there's been some interesting developments in the whole next gen landscape. So it's probably the ideal time to talk about it.
There's been some stuff and some rumours and...
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of running out of time.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
need to...
And that, funny enough, it was us talking about it the other day. I messaged you very last minute, being like, "Do you want to do this?" Because standard me, like, forget to text people and stuff. But yeah, no, very last minute. But it was us talking the other day, and we were talking about, like, obviously getting down to crunch time now. With them needing to announce things, I was like, well, now is the ideal time because we could sort of talk about rumour and innuendo that's going around with next gen. So I guess the first big thing to talk about is obviously Microsoft and the delay of Halo, and how that's going to affect their launch.
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously they were pinning a lot of their messaging around the launch of Halo. Like, it's one of the main things they've been talking about.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is cross-gen.
Yeah, exactly.
So...
That was an interesting thing for me when they actually formally announced that was going to be a cross-gen game.
Yeah.
Because it seemed odd to me to bring out like this supercharged Xbox that they're calling like the most powerful console ever, blah blah. And you know, and the stats sheet does say that like it's more powerful than the PS5 and stuff like that. And then they bring out this Halo game, which you think would be your showpiece, and it's sat in the middle between two gens game. And then obviously they show this gameplay, and everybody's like, "Well, what the fuck? That doesn't look anywhere near as we'd expect in our heads," you know?
Yeah, you'd expect like a big next gen showpiece. Yeah, as you say, to be like all bells and whistles, like particles and just stuff everywhere.
Yeah, the ray tracing stuff and all that good
but,
jargon that they're throwing out there right now at all of us.
But yeah, as you say, it looks like a Halo game. You know, they've gone back to the design of the original Halo.
Yeah, which is good.
Is what people wanted.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as a fan, that's good. But it looked old. Is probably the way to put it. Not old, but like it looked current gen. Do you know what I mean? Like it didn't look like anything. Yeah. It wasn't like whoa. Do you know what I mean? It's like It was like when the original Halo launched and stuff like that. Like back then, that was like holy shit! Look how amazing this game looks, and you know whatever. But I mean, they haven't actually launched an Xbox with a Halo since. Halo hasn't been a launch title since the original Xbox.
I mean, launch lineups is something I was going to bring up in a bit. Maybe we'll hold on that. But the fact that they were going to launch with this big Halo game was obviously a big deal, and like they saw it as a big deal. As I say, they've been pushing it really hard. Like their big first party showcase thing, like the only thing they talked about prior to that stream was the fact that they were going to show Halo gameplay. They didn't mention anything else that was going to appear on it.
Yep.
It was a bit of a surprise that they pushed it, especially as it came like
it goes to show
3 weeks.
Yeah, it goes to show you the power of the internet, though, and the backlash to that, and how.
But I mean, there was a backlash to the footage, but how much of that impacted the decision?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because we do also have the backdrop of the pandemic that's got to have impacted development.
Yeah, it was just interesting timing. The fact that they showed off this footage. The footage was then
Yeah.
I think it was praised in terms of gameplay for the most part, but then obviously bashed for like we said from the graphical aspect and stuff like that. And it's just interesting how like that happened, and then like a couple of weeks later, they're like, actually no, we're delaying it. And now it's like we've got an Xbox coming out, and there's nothing. On it really.
There's definitely a question because it's such a big decision to delay such a flagship title like that. Like, you kind of have to wonder if they knew when they did that stream that was going to happen.
Yeah, because there wasn't a whole big gap, like you say. That was literally, what was it, like literally 2 weeks, I think, between the stream.
It was something like
and
that.
then the delay. There wasn't.
So for them to like do that stream and then think, oh, you know what, maybe we'll delay it.
It was interesting leading into that stream as well, because like you say, going into that, it was very much like Halo's being shown, like this is our party piece, this is going to be a launch title, and blah blah blah. And then 2 weeks later to be like, oh, okay, no, it's not. Is really odd. But yeah, like I mean, there's lots of stuff coming out now as well that a lot of the game was outsourced, and there's a lot of pressure on 343 with the TV series and stuff like that. That's being worked on. I
mean, Phil Spencer was on an interview just after the delay news came out, and he was saying that at one point they were considering to hit the release date, like releasing it in chunks, like maybe release the campaign now and the multiplayer later.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they wanted to keep it as a like full package. They didn't want to break it up.
If anything, that shows that it needed to be delayed. If they were even considering that, releasing it in bits, because that's never happened with a Halo game before.
And at the end of the day, it's probably never a bad thing to delay a game. It's never a bad thing to give a game more time in development.
Oh, absolutely not. The more polished, the better. And like, to be fair, it's an interesting thing for me as well. It's like for the multiplayer side of things, they're really pushing like the 120 FPS and things like that. And obviously for a game to play, like obviously if they're touting like 4K, 120 FPS, multiplayer, blah blah blah, like. The game either has to look a certain way graphically,
and
it's going to be interesting now that they've sort of staggered it, which has got to be in part to the polish of the game. It'll be interesting to see if they keep that 120 FPS message with it as well, and if they're saying that we're going to deliver 120 FPS, and I mean the multiplayer is different to the campaign. I mean the campaign really is the bit you want to look fantastic, whereas the multiplayer can take a bit of a back seat to that.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see if they take a step back on any of the stuff that they've said about the game so far. And be interesting to see what does change a bit and stuff. So,
I mean, sticking with Microsoft, I think, although Halo has been a big part of their messaging, the other big part of their messaging is Game Pass.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is where Sony and Microsoft are really diverging on their messaging. Like, Microsoft is like, you got Game Pass, everything that's on Game Pass, and like all the backwards compatibility stuff, you'll be able to play everything day one on Series X. So you'll already have like your library of games that you own come over straight away. Whereas Sony is drawing much more of a line, and there is like some backwards compatibility cross-gen stuff happening with PS5, but they're more saying PS5 games are PS5 games. Like they won't be, they will be specifically designed. And whilst we will get some Series X stuff in the future, like quite early on, Microsoft said, Series X stuff won't happen. Series X specific stuff won't happen for at least a year or two.
I think the first game that will be out that is a Series X exclusive is it The Medium? Is that the right title for that game? The game where it's like a horror game. Is that only? That's a Series X game because that is essentially rendering 2 games at once because you can on the fly
with the split
between like the Silent Hill world and then the real world kind of thing. So. That's a Series X exclusive. I'm pretty sure that's out around launch, or it might be a launch title. One.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But I mean, other stuff like even like stuff like Forza hasn't got a date. Yeah, they didn't even put years on when we were expecting to see them. So they will likely be Series X exclusive.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Microsoft's messaging has always been like, with this very open, all-inclusive platform, like, and
I think
that is the kind of distinction between the two. I think with Game Pass, they've got because it crosses over onto PC.
Mm-hmm.
It's in this weird situation where they're not kind of trying to sell you the console as much as they're trying to sell you into Game Pass.
It's quite interesting, but Microsoft kind of have a more modern approach of it, and they're trying to sell you a service, whereas Sony's approach is more of like the old school of like, this is our new machine. You want the new machine because the new machine is going to do all these new wonderful things, and do you know what I mean? Like, you ignore the old stuff. This is for the new stuff, kind of thing. Whereas Microsoft is trying to, like I say, is try and be more of a like a platform for games, rather than just sell you. It's trying to sell you a box. They're trying to sell you a service, really. It's just like, this new box is just going to play stuff better than the old box, but you can still use the old box and whatnot. So,
and the interesting part is going to come down to the third-party stuff, because if the specs and reports are to be believed, like the Xbox, the Series X is going to be more powerful.
Yeah, I think
all the special, like the hard drive. There's a lot of talk about the hard drive architecture the route that Sony's gone down.
Yeah,
the third-party stuff won't be able to fully utilize that as much because
that's literally what I was about to say. I think that the thing is Sony have really worked on this like special SSD that they're working on, and how quick it can load stuff and whatever. And like, their first party stuff is probably Ratchet and Clank was showed that off great, because you were flipping between game worlds on the fly. There was no loading. Like, you're going through these different worlds constantly, no loading at all. Which is great. And like, to be fair, with the M.2s in the Series X and stuff like that, the SSDs in there, like, they're going to be lightning fast as well. But it's obviously Sony, whatever they're doing is they've created some sort of alien technology, from what I've read.
And they've come up with it. Like, I still don't understand why their hard drive is like, what is it, 825?
It's like 860 gig or something. That's concerning for me on both of them. Is that both of them have a hard drive that is around 1 terabyte, and it's like, that's not enough now. Like, if you're a Call of Duty player, that game's like 200 gig now, isn't it? I think. Like,
you got Call of Duty, Red Dead 2.
Yeah, like way over the 100 gig marks. Yeah, like 10 games and you're full, basically.
Once you start upping all the texture resolution.
I was going to say that, and these new games are going to be bigger. Like, they're just going to get bigger. So, it seems like but the thing is that memory is so expensive. Is what we're really tangenting here on the memory stuff. But like, memory is so expensive. Like, like one of those SSDs for, like, say my PC, a terabyte SSD is about £140 for a good one, for a really good one, and one that is as good as what they're going to use in these consoles. So I understand why they're small, but it's like, it's going to be interesting to see how these new gen of games are going to fill these up.
Yeah, I mean, and like, these aren't like off the shelf like NVMe drives. These are like custom built for the machines to work with the specific architectures that they both like put in.
Exactly. So they're not going to be cheap either.
Yeah, it's not going to make them cheaper.
No.
I mean, that leads quite nicely on to the one thing that one of the things we don't know at the moment is price.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
here we are.
Literally, just to speculate from that alone, if you just said how much one of those drives is, that's £140 for a drive. That's let alone the Blu-ray drives that these machines are going to have, let alone the GPUs these machines are going to have, and let alone the CPUs these machines are going to have. Like, something's got to give. It's going to be really interesting come launch time. Of like, it does really feel like at the minute they are literally just playing chicken, and who's going to announce first.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly the same thing. There's this weird game of chicken where nobody wants to announce the price first.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is, and a lot of people have said this, it feels like Microsoft is in the better position to undercut Sony. Whether that means they can announce first and then cut after Sony does their pricing, or whether they're waiting for Sony to announce first. But I don't think Sony wants to announce first. No. Because they know that Microsoft could then just straight away undercut them. So we're finding this, finding ourselves in this weird situation where are we? Like nearly the end of August. Again, if the rumours are to be believed, like both of them are supposed to be coming out November time.
Well, Microsoft have confirmed November, haven't they? They haven't given a date, but they've confirmed November.
That's true. They did. Yeah, they did actually say November. And there's been again lots of rumours. Like the rumours are, I think the most likely rumour that was the guy who had the white controller, which also outed the officially outed like the Series S because it was mentioned on the box and the stuff inside the box.
Mm-hmm.
But he was saying that the shipment that controller came from was labelled with like don't sell this stuff before 6th of November.
Yeah, which is
so 6th of November. You know.
I mean, what day is that? I'm gonna have a look. What day? I wonder what the day that is. If it's a Tuesday, let's go to American dates. What are we saying? Calendar. November the 6th. Oh, it's a Friday. That still fits well. Friday launch day.
Yeah. Tuesday, Friday. Yeah, I mean.
So yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, it's interesting because, like you say, I mean, I don't think in my memory of a console launching that it's ever been this late before we had a concrete date and a price, and we have neither, and we're literally.
It's because typically this stuff comes out around E3 time in June, which is now 2 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. So you have 4 or 5 months to figure out, how much you need to spend on these machines. Whereas really, we are gonna end up. It's gonna be September, I'd imagine, before we actually find anything out. So we're gonna literally be 2 months out, and they're gonna be like, okay, in 2 months' time. But then at the same time, technology is an interesting thing right now, because I always make this comparison. I've seen a lot of, and I've not to toot my own horn. I've been making this comparison for years, but like so many sites I see are saying the same thing right now. Is that about cell phones, mobile phones, iPhones, whatever, smartphones come out every year, and people upgrade their phone every year. So like buying a new console for £500-600 in the grand scheme, which will last you technically 6 years, probably, because that's average refresh, 5 to 6. It's going to last you 6 years. Isn't that bad? But yeah, it depends.
And it definitely feels like Microsoft is approaching that kind of cell phone sort of model mentality much more with the cross-generational stuff. It's like,
well, they trialed that thing, didn't they? I forgot what they called it, where they you could buy a console and it was like a 12-month payment plan or something. I think they did it in the US. I didn't do it over here.
I know what you mean.
You paid for your console, but they actually come with a subscription for Game Pass as well. Pretty sure that was a thing they did. I can't remember what they called it. But yeah, like literally, it's the same route, like as a phone.
Yeah, and it was a thing where at the end of that period, you got like the free upgrade to whatever the new console was at the time.
Yeah, that's
which
right.
I guess is supposed to be Series X.
Yeah,
I do remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're definitely. I definitely think Microsoft is looking more at the mobile phone kind of mentality. Of I mean, they kind of both of them tried to do it, well, not tried to do it, did do it this generation anyway, because they both were released like mid-gen kind of hardware refreshes with the Pro and the One X.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a little bit of that creeping in already, but
it feels like it's now going forward that is going to be the thing.
Yeah, I think when they launched Game Pass, I think that was their entire plan going forward.
Excuse me. It's interesting as well. You mentioned the Series S. They haven't even announced that officially yet either. It's like, is that going to be the same launch? Like, is that going to come a little bit later? I wouldn't be surprised if it comes a little bit later, to be fair. Hence, they haven't said anything yet. I wouldn't be surprised if we get the Series X first, get that out, and then a Series S maybe just after Christmas or something.
I mean, I feel like it would be silly to not do it before Christmas, because
I think it would as well, but it just seems odd that we're like September and there's still no announcement of that.
But again, going for Microsoft setting Xbox up as a platform, so one of the other pieces that's come out in recent weeks is that they've stopped production on the One X.
Yeah, it's almost like the S is going to replace that.
Yeah, so they're going to end up with three models on the market. You're going to have Series X, the Series S, which we know is happening, even though they haven't announced it. But the 1S they're still producing the 1S, so they could like slash the price on that, and that becomes like a super cheap entry level thing. Like
that would be cool. To be fair, like a real low,
like a 199
console.
199 or even a 149 1S with Game Pass, like.
Because they did that discless version as well, didn't they? Discless 1S. I don't know if they still make that.
Yeah, I think that's joined the discontinued list as well.
Oh, okay.
Because that's the other thing. Like maybe the Series S is discless. We don't.
Yeah, again, we don't know. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, we know it. We know it exists. Like it's one of the worst kept secrets. Like it's been like the Lockhart code maybe has been around for ages. Like say the recent packaging stuff has confirmed that, like because the controller said it works on a Series X and a Series S. So like it's there's no secret it exists. But aside from that, yeah, I mean, obviously PS5 are doing a discless one, so it kind of makes sense. Like it keeps the price down a bit.
Yeah, exactly. So right off the back of that, then I guess we need to talk about the launch lineups for these machines. We don't know. So we don't know a date. We don't know a price, and we're not really that sure of what's the launch lineups for these machines either. We've got some ideas, some concrete stuff.
There's only
Sony more so than Microsoft.
Well, you're saying more so. Like I can only name. Well, okay, going on first party, because I think obviously the third party stuff, a lot of the dates are out there. Like Assassin's Creed is, and Cyberpunk are released a couple of days of each other in sort of mid-November.
Actually, Cyberpunk's an interesting one because are they actually releasing? I know they're releasing a patch later, but I'm assuming they're not releasing Series X and PS5 versions straight away. I don't know if I'm right or wrong on that. I know they said an update will come later at one point. I don't know if it's going to be like a console launch thing. Wouldn't surprise me if it is, because
it would be a shame if both of the new systems are out there and the patch isn't available.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm me. Other people might not, but I'm a bit of an Xbox fanboy. I'll be getting the Series X for launch. And one of the things I want to play on my Series X is Cyberpunk. So if the next gen patch isn't available, that's going to be a bit weird, really. Like, so I want to play that game at the best it can be.
It's a bit like Avengers, though. Obviously, Avengers is out like next month.
A couple of weeks.
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
Well, it's a couple of weeks.
First? No, first is early access. It's not the 4th. Yeah.
4th. 4th of September. Yeah.
Because I got myself confused with that the other day. I kept saying the 1st to people, and I was like, "Oh wait, no, it's not. It's the 4th." Because early access is the 1st. But a really terrible deluxe edition that they're doing, but that's a different conversation. But yeah, no, I don't know if that is getting a patch day one with the consoles either. I know they said they're doing a patch, but it's like, when's it coming? Everything's pretty vague on the whole patch.
Yeah. Because I know, again, like Microsoft have been touting their like smart delivery, like you'll get the best version of the game on whichever console you're downloading it on or whatever.
So what are Microsoft's exclusives? I'm pretty sure for launch literally is the medium. I'm pretty sure that's the only thing they've got coming.
They're pretty thin on like release dates for games. Maybe could be the reason they haven't dated stuff is because they are launch titles and they haven't given the date yet.
There's a lot of reliance on current gen upgrades at the start of launch for both machines. Obviously, so for launch titles for both will definitely be Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed. Cyberpunk, like I say, I'm pretty sure is going to get the patch anyway. So that. I think obviously it's on the Sony front. They've got Spider-Man, Miles Morales.
They got the only two I can think of on the PS5 front. Yeah, as you say, is Spider-Man and that Godfall, which is like the third-person action game thing.
But I kept thinking Ratchet and Clank was, but I don't think it actually is. I don't think Ratchet and Clank's a
I'm pretty sure that hasn't even got a date.
No, I don't think it has. I was going to just confirm.
I mean, I think the launch lineups of people have been going on about the launch lineups. Obviously, now Xbox has lost Halo.
Yeah.
But
sorry, Demon Souls. That was the other one. Demon Souls. It's a rumor at the minute because it went through classification this week.
Okay.
For obviously for its age rating. And the rumor I was reading was like every game that gets classified normally releases about 2 months later. So obviously it getting classified now would be perfectly in time for launch. And obviously that being like a remake, I can't see why we'd have to wait too long for that. So yeah, so they're two fairly substantial. I mean, when you talk about launch games, they're two pretty big titles. Obviously, one's a remake and one is just essentially DLC, but still, at least that's two quite tasty morsels to get along.
And the thing I was going to say is the thing people forget is if you actually go back, I actually took a look before we kind of started up the podcast. Like, the thing people forget is launch lineups for consoles are never really that great.
Do you know what's funny? I think for people of like my age, obviously you got a little bit of time with me. But at my age, I think just a little bit. I think for people my age is we get caught up on the like the N64 launch, and you think back to like that when you were a kid. Like they're the big launches that stick in your head. When that came out, obviously you had Mario 64 instantly, and like on PS1, I can't remember what launched on PS1 now. In honesty, I don't think there was anything amazing, but for that it was just.
I mean,
PS1 was different because everything on that was like stuff you hadn't seen before, essentially.
I mean, I've got the Xbox One and PS4 launch lineups. So I'm just going to look at.
Oh, they were bad.
I'm going to concentrate. I'm going to concentrate on the first party stuff because there was a whole bunch of third party stuff.
Assassin's Creed was there again back then.
Yeah, there's always an Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
But first party Sony. You got Flower, Killzone, Shadowfall,
Killzone was the big
Resogun. Yeah, Sound Shapes, Escape Plan, and Flow.
Yeah, they were shit.
Yeah. Killzone is the only one that stands out as like a big.
Killzone was essentially like a really big tech demo. Because that wasn't even that great of a game, to be fair. That was more like, here you go, this is next gen. And that was all that really stood out from that.
And that's exactly what happened on the Xbox side as well, because
I know exactly what game you're going to say that is.
Rise, Son of Rome.
Yeah. To be fair, that game was way ahead of its time when that came out. Like graphically, that game was insane.
Lovely rendered scenes and all the rest of it, but the game was
terrible game, terrible story, terrible game.
But I mean,
that was going to be a Kinect game. I don't know if you remember that. That was going to be a fucking Kinect game. And then they transferred it into a third-person adventure.
I can't even imagine how that would have worked.
Yeah, when they first announced it, I remember they showed it. It was like footage of you like kicking, like doing the "This is Sparta" kick on the beach and stuff like that. That was like how they really showed it off on Kinect and shit.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that was a couple of years before they even Xbox One came out. But yeah.
Yeah, so also on the first party Xbox side, you also had Dead Rising 3. That was.
Oh yeah, I remember that was one of the games I got on launch.
Which all right. Again, wasn't amazing. Forza 5.
I was gonna say Xbox actually had a Forza that gen. I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. And the only other one.
As far as I know from Forza fans, though, that was like a real ham-fisted entry, and it wasn't that good. So. Again,
yeah, I mean, I've always been on the Horizon side, so I'm not interested in the Sims.
Yeah, I'm not big into.
The only other thing of note is Killer Instinct.
Yeah, and even again, that exists, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's an okay beat 'em up.
Yeah.
If you're into that sort of thing, so there wasn't like big killer apps on.
No, it's just interesting how as even I do it. And I know the reality of it. Like, I've been a sucker for launch day consoles for fucking like 20 years now. So it's like, a console comes out, I'm like, I'm getting it. I don't give a shit. But yeah, no, the launch lineup. I mean, PS2, right? Most beloved of consoles ever, pretty much, right? That had fuck all at launch. That had nothing. I think the only game I got a launch for that was Tekken Tag Tournament. That was like and I remember there was like a game called Fantavision, which was like a fireworks game.
Phantoms.
I never played it.
I remember that.
I never played it, but I remember it being out. And I think Ridge Racer came out, but again, it was just like, it's Ridge Racer, who cares? It was nothing special at launch. I was playing PS1 games still on PS2, so.
So weirdly, in that regard, it almost feels like it doesn't matter that Halo has slipped, but at the same time, Microsoft was putting such an emphasis on it that it's weird that it slipped.
Yeah, that's it. I was going to say, I think that's the problem, is that there was such, like you say, an emphasis of like, oh, we're launching with a Halo, and then like, we're not launching with Halo now. And it's like, I don't know what the actual vibe is in the community, but like, I felt like it lost a little bit of buzz when Halo was like, oh, it's not launched now. But yeah.
I think, again, that's on Microsoft because they'd hyped it up so much.
Oh, totally. I mean, they must know what they're doing at the end of the day. They made the decision to delay it. It must have felt like it was warranted to delay it.
I mean, pandemic or backlash or whatever, or a combination of the two. I mean,
it's been interesting.
That must have been a difficult call to make. I wouldn't want to have been on that conference call.
Definitely.
So when you're so we're thinking about delaying Halo Infinite, be like, okay.
Yeah, that's an infinitely bad decision. Hey! It's been interesting because I follow along with Digital Foundry a lot, and obviously they look at a lot of the sort of graphical side of things and technical details and bits and pieces like that. And one of their top guys, John Lineman, has been speaking about just on his Twitter, like he's of the impression of like they probably should have delayed next gen because everything's so sketchy right now, and it's been such a weird time. It's kind of like, if we're gonna have it come out as a mess, then like surely we should have just waited and done next gen next year or something like that.
It is. I mean, it's definitely a weird time to be launching consoles.
Yeah.
Not only.
I was talking about midnight launches with a friend of mine. I was like, I always love going to midnight launches, and it's like, can we do that? Like, I'm assuming we can now with a mask on.
By November maybe. God forbid we're in a second wave or whatever.
Yeah, fingers crossed that's not the case.
But yeah, I mean that's been one of the weird things. Like from when lockdown started, both parties have been saying, like, we're definitely launching this year. We're definitely launching.
Sony is still adamant. I was reading an article yesterday when they were like, next gen is still this year. Like, it's not going away. Like, it's coming this year.
And I guess,
to be fair, I personally feel like it's a bit of reprieve and something to look forward to. I think most gamers would agree with that. It's like, it's been such a fucking weird year. It's just something to still be excited for.
But then the flip side of that is the fact that these are probably going to be the most expensive consoles ever made.
Yeah, at a time when unemployment and like job losses are a fucking all-time high, essentially. So, yeah, it's weird. But I think that's again part of the reason why they haven't announced price is because they're probably aware of the situation. Well, I say probably aware. They will be aware of the situation for most people. So they're probably trepidatious of being like, okay, these are going to come out and they're going to be £600. I mean, I think the PS4 was the most expensive launch, right?
Yeah, what was that? Was that $499?
Actually, no. I got this wrong before.
It's $499.
I'm pretty sure PS3 was the most. I'm going to Google it because it's going to annoy me. So, most expensive launch console, 10. Oh God, we're going back ancient history. Don't care about them. PS3 was $600 when it came out, so it would have been £500.
Was it really? Yeah. Christ. That, I mean, back then as well. That's a lot.
I was gonna say that was back then. The PS4 was cheaper than the Xbox One. So I've got this in US, unfortunately, but yeah, in US PS4 was $400. Xbox One was $500, which is weird because the PS4 was technically the more powerful machine.
Yeah.
So a console coming out at £600 then isn't that foreign, like, or £600, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, all the rumours at the moment, again, very much rumours because
no one knows really. Yeah.
But yeah, 599 seems to be the common
Yeah, that's what I
point.
keep seeing a lot as well. Yeah.
And that's dollars, so we could be looking at 549 over here.
Yeah, say like £499. Yeah, £500 ish. 550.
Yeah, sort of the 550. Maybe. Yeah, because that's what I mean. The Xbox One X released at 499 stateside, 449 over here.
Yeah.
So if we assume it's the kind of same currency conversion.
Well, I assume so. I mean, at the end of the day, that was only. I mean, how long was the X been out now? 2 and a bit years.
Yeah, I want to say
maybe 3.
Third year. Yeah, maybe this is going to be its 3rd year.
Yeah, potentially its 3rd year. I don't know. Time's a weird thing for me at the moment. Like I say, with the whole lockdown thing, I get confused with how many months we've been through this year already. And it's like, oh god, it's really weird. But yeah, no.
One of the strongest pointers to the 599 price point was, I don't know if you saw this, but there was your favourite beverage of choice, Monster.
Oh yeah, Monster. Yeah.
They're doing a Halo Infinite, which they're going to push ahead with. Cans are already on shelves in the States.
Yeah. Yeah, I did see this. Yeah, I think you shared that with me actually. But yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe I sent it to you. Yeah. So yeah, the whole thing was that, so there's like a competition aspect as well as getting like free XP for Halo or something. But there was, I think it's something like 200 Series X's were up for grabs. But as part of the like terms and conditions, they had to state the total value of the prize pool.
Oh, okay.
So somebody obviously did some quick maths and go, well, that's the total value of the prize pool. 200 consoles. Let's divide it. And what does it come out to? $5.99 a piece.
Right. Okay. Yep. I think I honestly think in the UK between £500 and £600 is what we'll pay. Like genuinely, I'm sold. That's how much they're going to. Both are going to be similar ballpark.
The only thing that could throw sort of slight kind of hesitation on that number coming off of that promotion is because apparently the cans are on shelves back in June, July time.
Yeah,
so
been out a while.
They would have obviously had to have done all this pre-prep work, so it could be that they just gave them an inflated number to cover their ass.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
There's still a chance it might not be as high as that, but we definitely know. I guess it can't be higher than that, so that's giving us a top end at least.
Yeah, and I don't see the PS5. Like I say, they're gonna. At the end of the day, they're gonna want to compete with each other. They're not gonna be. You know what I mean? I doubt we're gonna see a machine for £700. Say, I think if we set the expectation high, on like, okay, we're gonna pay £600 for these new consoles. Then anything below that is like it's happy days. So
yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
they're gonna cost some money.
Yeah, it's gonna cost some serious money. But yeah, I'm personally getting the PS5 because just a tangent a little bit is for me being a PC gamer, Microsoft have kind of pulled the rug out a little bit in a good way for me personally. Is this generation for me? I don't need an Xbox.
And this comes back to the whole Game Pass thing, like because all their first party stuff is coming to Game Pass day one. You don't have to worry about the exclusives, you know, Xbox exclusives joke insert here.
Yeah.
But they bought a load of studios. Something's going to happen, hopefully. But yeah, for people who are PC gamers who are in on the Game Pass stuff, like you've probably already got, or serious PC gamers have probably got equivalent hardware or not far off.
Well, like for me, like I won't be buying it because usually I would buy both. Admittedly, like hands up, I would buy both. But like for me, this time round is I'll buy a new graphics card, because the new graphics cards are going to be announced next week by Nvidia, which is technically next gen speak as well, because these new series of cards are meant to be crazy powerful again. So they're getting announced in like 2 weeks' time. So for me, it's like I'll upgrade my card, sell my old card, get the new card, and I'll buy a PS5, and I don't need an Xbox. If I want to play with you still, I still can. So like
But that's the thing. I think, going back to what I was saying earlier, I think that is Microsoft's strategy. They don't need to sell you the hardware because they can reach more people on PC and, in the future, mobile/Android with xCloud, which we haven't touched on, which is going to be bundled.
I was going to say, I was going to do the next thing I was going to mention, yeah.
So they get all the PC and Android users into Game Pass, and that's money every month that, is probably more than they're going to be making from the console. Especially if it's an expensive box. Like, you're going to have your diehards, Xbox diehards like myself, who are like, I've got a One X, but I want to play stuff in the nicest way possible, so I'm going to upgrade.
If I wasn't a PC gamer, I would absolutely buy a Series X because I'm a Halo fan. I need that was not always my reason for getting Xbox. Well, to be fair, it's funny actually. I actually prefer Xbox's infrastructure to PlayStation anyway. It's like this generation. I prefer Xbox's chat systems and things like that. All their ecosystem I prefer to Sony's anyway. But I've probably played more on my PS4 because I've had less of a reason to play on the Xbox. Because I'll play the Xbox stuff on my PC,
Exactly, yeah.
So it's kind of...
And, so we all know Sony have been banging out the exclusives, and, I do own, but, I've got a PS4. Like, I love me some God of War and Spider-Man, and, so, I will pick up a PS5 probably down the line. But yeah, that's the thing. At launch, there is no reason for me. If I'm just getting it for exclusives,
like you say, there's literally absolutely no reason, really, other than if you really want to play Miles Morales.
My ecosystem is Xbox, so I want to play all my current Xbox stuff, but faster and nicer. So I'll just get the new Xbox, and once Sony starts banging out its exclusives again, I'll look at picking up a second-hand PS5 or something.
Oh, for sure. I mean, when God of War 2 drops, that'll be a much-needed device at that point.
And I mean, how beautiful is that game going to be?
Yeah, exactly. And like Horizon 2 and stuff like that, that's going to look incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I went back and finished Horizon Zero Dawn just recently because, I hadn't finished it, and I remembered it was about halfway through.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, like, so many games this year have been delayed. There's been a real drought this summer of, like, proper new releases.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we were lucky. On the PlayStation front, we were lucky. I mean, I know you haven't picked either of these up, but obviously we were lucky in the fact of having The Last of Us 2 come out and Ghost of Tsushima. There's two final big boy releases on the PS4 before we move to next gen. Obviously, I mean, sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, I was just saying, it's this weird circumstance we find ourselves in where there's usually a lack of games before a new gen anyway, because, studios are moving development to new systems. But with the pandemic on top of that, the stuff that was going to be coming out has all been, like, I'm sure a week doesn't go by that another game slip into next year. Like, the amount of stuff that's been pushed to next year now. And, stuff like, Cyberpunk was supposed to be out in April.
Which is insane to think, isn't it?
To be out. Like, so it's just like really kind of exacerbated the drought that would have existed anyway. So it's just a really weird time. So kind of.
Yeah, so we briefly mentioned it. So another next-gen experience which Microsoft are pushing as well, and this is going back to this whole service thing that they're creating. Kind of fanboying on Microsoft a little bit, it feels like. But
yeah, I'm trying to say, I've tried to, from the top.
No, it's fine, because to be fair, it's an interesting...
I've got a bias, but I'm trying, PlayStation is doing stuff as well. I'm trying.
Oh, no, I agree, because like I say, I'm buying a PS5, I'm not even going to buy an Xbox, but Microsoft is doing some interesting things, like obviously they're going to drop xCloud later this year, which is going to be part of Game Pass Ultimate, so if you have Game Pass Ultimate, you can play
coming out, that's 15th of September actually, that's coming a lot sooner.
Yeah, it's going to be before the console, so for that, you can play any Game Pass game on your phone. Anywhere, as long as you're on LTE and
that
or
might
Wi-Fi
not strictly
connection.
be true at launch. I think at launch they got a bit more curated list.
Was it? I thought that was only for the beta. I thought when on launch it was going to be anything that's on Game Pass.
I'm not.
I'm probably wrong. I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, I'm not 100%.
Either way, regardless, the fact that you can pick your phone up, attach a pad to it with Bluetooth, and I mean, apart from iPhones, you iPhone people can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, let's not get into the whole gaming.
There's the whole thing going on there.
Because that's gone
the fact
whole direction.
Even if you get like a shitty tablet, anything, you can pick it up and you can play Halo wherever the hell you want, or Gears of War or whatever. Which is awesome. And I've sampled it. I know you've used it before, haven't you?
Yeah, I've tried it. Yeah,
and it works great. Literally perfect.
Yeah, I've played some Destiny 2.
Yeah, I played some Halo 5 on my phone. I haven't really played a whole bunch of stuff, but I played a bit of Halo 5 and I played some Devil May Cry 5 on there. Both fast games and games you don't want to have massive delays in response time in, and like I didn't really have any issues. I mean, granted I was on Wi-Fi, but as long as you're using a decent 4G or Wi-Fi connection, then it's great.
Yeah, it's that kind of nice extra to have.
Yeah.
Like if it's been bundled in with other stuff. I know obviously Sony in the past has done stuff with PlayStation Now, but I guess the key difference here is rather than streaming it off your home machine, going off to a Microsoft server farm, it's got like racks of Xboxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's again, I mean PlayStation Now is nowhere on the level of like Game Pass. It's like if you're a gamer and you have an Xbox or even a PC and you don't have Game Pass, it's like why the hell not? Like it's such a good thing to have. Do you know what I mean? You have so much variety, and it's like there's been loads of random games I've played that I wouldn't play for Game Pass.
I remember when they announced Game Pass, and I kind of, even as an Xbox person, I was just a bit like, it's just like a thing. I wasn't really bothered. But they've kind of grown it so much over time. I think it was the Forza Horizon 4 launch when I kind of
I think that was when I first got it as
well. Signed up. I was like, all right, I'll give this Horizon. But since then, I've kind of been really surprised because it does. The one thing I found, it allows me to experience I wouldn't put money down previous. Like things just off in the periphery. Oh, that looks kind of interesting, but I don't want 30, 50 just to see what it's like. Whereas with Game Pass, like something pops up, you're like, oh yeah, I was kind of interested. I'll download it, take it for a spin for an hour or two. If I'm not interested, in it. Like
exactly that.
And there's so much stuff that I wouldn't have played otherwise. It's
a lot of indie
really
stuff on there as well. Like again, that I wouldn't have played. Mainly indie
100%.
stuff. I wouldn't have played. It's like Streets of Rage 4 was on there at launch and stuff, and that was fucking great. Like Streets of Rage 4 was on there at launch. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of had Red Dead 2 on there in recent months. There's not like Red Dead 2 when that went on there. It's only just over a year old. So there's big games on there pretty quick after launch and stuff. I mean, granted, it might be for a limited time window, but say a game's on there even for 3-4 months. Like, that's enough time to complete a game like Red Dead 2. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you get a full game experience for, next to nothing.
I found it really, really interesting because there's been a few developers who've said they've actually sold more than they expected after putting their stuff on Game Pass, which is really interesting.
Well, it's interesting because the thing is, I think people still want to own their games. Because the thing with Game Pass is the only stuff that's on there permanently is the Microsoft own brand stuff, which is great. I mean, just that alone is worth it, really. Just for anything new that comes out of their studios is on there instantly. So, which is great. But I mean, I think the thing is people do still want to own their games. So if you're playing an indie game on there and you think this is fucking great, and it's only £15 or whatever, you're like, oh, screw it. You might pick up a physical edition, or you might, just buy it on there anyway. So, and plus just word of mouth as well. People who don't want Game Pass, people who have got Game Pass and play a game and tell their friends this game is good, will just buy that game off the back of that recommendation. So, it's all good for the industry, really, because people are playing stuff they wouldn't have played anyway. So, these developers are benefiting anyway, because like I say, if people weren't going to play your game because it cost £20, but they get to sample it for free, essentially. What harm is that?
Not just like a demo or a taster.
Money.
It's like you can sit down and play the entire game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I've always wondered. I'd like to know the numbers of what Microsoft give these guys to have their games on Game Pass. That's always intrigued me.
It's a decent chunk of cash.
I was gonna say, I assume it is. Yeah.
I worked for a small indie publisher for a little bit back, and we had a game launch on Game Pass.
Oh, okay.
I know I'm not going to go into specific figures, but I know there was a good chunk of cash that came from.
I was going to say, these guys, at the end of the day, these devs don't need to put their games on there. They do not have to. So it's obviously got to be financially rewarding for the people who are making these games to put their games on Game Pass.
I'm pretty sure it was a 6-figure amount.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and plus off the back of that, again, the notoriety of the game.
Yeah.
The game is out on other platforms as well. So, 9 times out of 10, these games are on other platforms anyway, especially these indie titles. They're on other platforms, so people are playing it on Game Pass will be like, oh, it's great. People are buying it elsewhere, buying it on their Switch. Again, Streets of Rage. I mean, I haven't bought it yet, but I want to get a physical edition of that on my Switch. And that's a sale that they probably wouldn't have hadn't I have done it on Game Pass. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's all trickle down, isn't it? It's all the big trickle down from the top. So, but yeah,
I'm
Game Pass is the true next gen.
Yeah, I'm conscious that we're.
So I've lost you. I heard none of that.
Oh, hello.
Oh, I can hear you now. Hello, there we go.
Oh, don't know what happened there.
Yeah, don't know.
Yeah, I'm conscious that we're giving a lot of focus to Microsoft and Game Pass and stuff. So I want to tangent back to Sony for a minute, because there's one thing that I heard. Again, was
I keep losing you ever so slightly. Can you bring the mic up a little bit? Maybe it's just the mic sensitivity.
Hello.
Hello. I can hear you now.
I don't know what's that. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. It's just dropping sound a little bit. Hello.
Hello. I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
You might need to edit this.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, no, I can hear you now anyway. But yeah, no, we can head back to Sony. I mean, again, I'm not even trying to just toot the horn of Microsoft. I think the figures with this generation, next generation, is that Microsoft are doing a lot of things apart from releasing a machine. Hence, there's probably more to talk about on their front than the Sony front.
I mean, there's one just little thing. There's Deathloop, which was going to be. I don't know if it's timed exclusive or console exclusive. I'm pretty sure
it's like a year timed exclusive. I'm pretty sure it's coming to other platforms. That game,
So it's coming to PS5 first. But they were talking about some of the stuff they were doing with the DualSense controller.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the big interesting thing. The details that are coming out on that controller are real intriguing. Yeah. Like, really cool.
So, yeah, just for the benefit of people who are listening who haven't heard about this, they were talking about in the game, so it's an FPS, when there's a thing in the game where your gun jam.
Yeah.
And what they're going to do, they're actually going to block the trigger on the controller.
Yeah, which is crazy, right?
Kind of nuts.
That's awesome. I saw in Miles Morales as well, because of the different motors that are in the pad. So when your spider sense is going off in the game, it will tingle in the direction of an enemy. So you'll actually feel actual spider sense in your hand of where your enemy is about to attack you from and stuff. So just stuff like that is cool. And I was reading on Horizon as well, was when you're aiming the bow, depending on how hard you pull the trigger and stuff, is how hard you'll pull the bow in the game and stuff like that.
Okay.
So there's a whole impact and response thing in the triggers.
A few nice little touches.
Yeah, which is probably one of the cooler things. I mean, obviously, speaking of that, there's some controversy around that as well, because obviously Sony is being all our pads work on all our machines, blah blah blah. Microsoft are being like that, sorry. Whereas Sony are PS5 games can only use PS5 pads. To be fair, I don't see why that's an issue. this has been the rule all the time.
Yeah.
I remember when PS2 came out, PS1 pads didn't work quite so good on PS2 games. PS3, you couldn't use PS2 pads at all because there was no connector. Like, what's the big fucking deal? I don't see why people are getting upset all of a sudden about that you can't use old consoles controllers on new consoles. Like, this has always been the way. It's always been the way.
I think this is even like the first time that you've been able to port peripherals across.
Yeah, I was going to say, from 360 to Xbox One, again, you couldn't fucking move your controllers across.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. Yeah.
I don't see what the problem is. I don't see why this is even news right now. It's like, this has literally always been the way. NES to SNES, different controller. SNES to N64, different controller. N64 to GameCube, different controller. Do you know what I mean? It's the same. It's always been the same.
And I'm actually looking forward to getting a new controller because I've got to say my Xbox One pad thumbsticks are looking pretty sad at the moment.
Actually, because you're looking forward to getting a new controller for a different reason. I want a new controller like we're getting on PS5. Like, I love the Xbox controller. I think it's the definitive pad for shooters and everything like that. I think it's great. But I'm a sucker. I like the old school. When you get a new console, everything's new. Like, I love that. Like, I do enjoy that. Like, it's a whole new thing. You get a new pad, blah, blah, blah. Whereas, like, I appreciate what Microsoft is doing because I get their logic is they're trying to have it all inclusive. But I like that Sony is still like, no, fuck this. Make a whole new fancy controller which does loads of cool shit.
Yeah, it's a new gadget. Like, you know, the chat stuff's quite nice to have. Like, you know, the amount of times that someone you get a party invite. Phones.
Yeah.
Have that in. Like, so yeah, just being able to like do it through the controller. It'd be interesting to see how well it works, but it's it's a nice little feature just for quick one-offs and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously they're saying like on the DualSense they've improved the speakers in it and stuff like that, like you say, and like because obviously PS4 games always have stuff cut out the speaker and stuff like that. Like they're all improved and there'll be loads of cool little gadgetry to it. I like that.
I say playing through finishing off Horizon Zero Dawn recently always freaked me out every time like I went into like the focus mode or whatever it was and the little noise came out of the controller.
Well, it's like on Ghost of Tsushima, if the wind's blowing and stuff like that, like the wind will blow through the speaker on the pad and stuff like that. It's cool.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's cool. And it's an interesting way that the gaming industry is going in terms of like Microsoft's going one way and Sony's going the other. It feels like, and it's cool.
Yeah, and obviously the one that we haven't talked about which doesn't have a new console, but Nintendo's now off in a world of their own entirely.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo have been clever, really, because they're kind of like, you guys do what the fuck you want to do over there. We're gonna be over here doing our own thing. And
just doing mental stuff.
Exactly. Which has kind of always been their way, and like it always.
Yeah.
I mean, Wii U was a flop, obviously, but other than that, it's always been. It's always worked out.
I mean, for me, like I grew up Sega versus Nintendo, like Mega Drive versus SNES. And all that sort of stuff,
same-ish, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been interesting to see it kind of shift over the years. Obviously,
Sega's dead. Well, not dead.
Yeah, Sega's dead. Sony got involved, and the fact that it was nearly the Nintendo.
Yeah.
That was a thing. Nintendo that was actually working with Sony to their next console, and then it fell apart really last minute.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's crazy, really, like how that was actually. Like actually seeing that machine when they released the pictures of it not so long ago and stuff, like it was like mad, like this weird. There's over hearing rumours of that years ago, and I mean years ago. But it was never something that was like properly concrete that you ever saw anything of, and then like to actually see it, it's like, oh fuck, like there it is, the gem.
But it really came down to the wire. I don't know if it was days or weeks before they were about to announce it.
Yeah,
if you haven't heard that story, go look up Nintendo PlayStation.
Yeah, it's real.
Read about
it's real, folks.
Console history.
So yeah,
what could have been?
I get. We've been talking for like nearly an hour about next gen. So if anyone didn't realise this wasn't next gen wars, neither of us are sitting on any side of the fence. He's buying an Xbox, I'm buying a PlayStation, and we don't hate each other. So you can be.
And I think that the one thing that's coming out of this more than anything else is you have a look this time around.
You have an option, did you say?
Like,
sorry, I lost you again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this time round, as gamers, you have a lot of to what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's making it quite exciting, like.
It's like Christmas. Console launch year is like loads of Christmases bundled into one. And for a lot of people, it will be their Christmas present this year. So, I'm excited. I think both companies are doing really exciting things, and I think it's going to be, like I say, it's going to be a nice reprieve from the realities of the fucking world right now. To have a nice new console to just distract us for a bit.
The really exciting thing is that we haven't seen the full potential of the machine.
Oh, dude!
These are both beasts of machines, and in a couple of years, games that are going to be coming out.
I was going to say, this bit is like, again, going back to launch lineups, like this bit's like the, whatever. So we'll see you next Christmas when the stuff coming out, like, and we're seeing the stuff get better and better and better, and like, yeah, it's always exciting. It's new console, with new consoles. We saw that, oh god, what was that game by the Chinese company? They made some funky.
Oh, yeah, the one that I sent you.
Yes.
Let me just look it up. Where's my WhatsApp?
Oh god, we need to know. Oh, Black Myth Wukong. It's called.
Yes.
Yeah. So like seeing stuff like that, which is on Unreal Engine 4, not even on Unreal Engine 5, like where games can go is like limitless essentially. So, it's gonna be a really cool, interesting time, and we're just seeing the start of it. So, yeah, I guess we'll tie up there, dude. Thank you for joining me. Very last minute.
Thanks for having me.
That's all right. Anytime. Always.
You know me. I'm always happy to chat about.
I was going to say we can always ramble about video games, so we know that we've got that down. Yeah. Thank you for joining. Have you got anything you want to plug to anyone? Like I don't know.
No, not doing anything.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. You don't have to plug anything. Well, I'm going to plug that. If you're listening, please. Obviously, subscribe if you're on YouTube. Click the notification bell, see when the new podcast's out. I have been slack the last month. I had laryngitis and stuff. It's been a bad time. I'm still not even 100% there. After talking for an hour straight now, I'm like, I'm a bit raspy. But yeah, no, again, if you could like and subscribe, share this. If you're listening on Spotify, give me a follow. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, again, follow, everything like that. That'd be fantastic. And we'll see you on the next one. Cheers, guys.
Bye.